Now, of course, we're all scared of such a thing, and I'm always thinking, Lord, I'm trembling. Do I want to be part? What if there's some doubt? But you know what? Same thing happened to Jesus. You know that when Jesus was here, do you know how much doubt they cast about Jesus? How could you know if Jesus was the Messiah or not? All you can do is compare the teachings with Scripture. How can you tell us something is of God? If it's not according to the law and the prophets, there is no light in them. But what if it is according to the law and the prophets? Huh? You have a hard decision to make. So I had a couple of friends of mine yesterday, Rita. One of them came to me and says, well, I have some doubts. I said, read the last one. Read the last one, and right then on the spot. A very dedicated, consecrated missionary and a biblical teacher. He read the last one, and he said, I have no more to say. It is of God. Now, I'll leave to you to decide, in your experience, what you see, but I'm convinced. In any case, in one of his dreams, I'm sharing this because my life has had reform because I read those dreams. There's some things that I am growing spiritually and changing my whole life because of that. I would expect, if it's from God, it would bring that response, right? It would bring reform in our lives and preparation. In one little valley, beautiful valley, there was 800 little blackbirds. And the angel took him to that valley and said, great Creator, we are ready to watch. And all of a sudden, all 800 blackbirds started swarming, and their job, the angel said, was to climb out of the valley and go above the valley. Well, the birds started flying, climbing higher and higher. And then he noticed some birds just got tired and fluttered back down to the valley floor. Other birds started getting jealous of the other birds and started pushing them down, trying to get higher than they were. Have you ever met people like that? Huh? Not higher than me, you know. Whatever, we're trying to climb together, but my job is to put you down. Some birds spent their time smelling all the flowers and looking at the beautiful foliage. Other birds actually settled into the trees, those beautiful trees on the side of the valley walls, and built their nests. Nice houses in these beautiful country places on this earth. Have you ever heard of people like that? Where it's such a beautiful place to live still in parts of Kentucky, parts of Illinois, South America, Thailand. Beautiful little places tucked away. Venezuela, near the waterfalls, mountains. Wouldn't you just love to have a beautiful home and settle there for the rest of your life? Sometimes I fly over areas and I go, if only I could live there for the rest. Just a little bend in a river with the big waterfalls falling there, big mountain. Just leave me there for the rest of my life. Huh? Doesn't this world have beautiful places? Yeah. Some of those birds built their nests in those beautiful places. And finally, the angel said, I want you to point out, look what's left. One bird alone kept climbing and climbing and climbing. The angel said, look at the bird. And the man said, he looks very tired. And the angel said, he is very tired. But notice he never takes his eyes off of the goal. Kept climbing higher and higher. And finally, that one bird and that one bird alone made it out of the valley. The angel said, note that only 1 in 800 made it out of the valley. This shook me to my very roots. Because I have been preaching that all we need is 1 in 100. And we're going home. What if that really expresses the reality of the situation? 1 in 800. Today we're coming up on 17 million Adventists. Let me just do a quick calculation here. 17 million divided by 800. 21,250. Where in the world is God going to find 144? You know what I believe? I believe there's a great awakening taking place right now. And I believe God is going to find His people. But at this point, if the world were to close right now, God would not have completed the evidence He needs. Now, can you be saved, by the way? Can you be saved without being a part of the 144,000? Yeah. Yeah, you can. Did Moses go to heaven after he died? Moses was disobedient. Did he go to heaven? Yes. Did God want him to be like Elijah? Yes. But he didn't make it for disobedience. Do you think there's Seventh-day Adventists that know better but aren't living all to the light that they have, but do you think they might go to heaven? It might. But don't you think God is needing people to live for Him rather than to die for Him today? So if this expresses reality, and if these are of God, it does express reality. I'm not saying that it'll be all those that will be saved. I think the biggest problem we have in the great controversy right now is enough people to be sealed. God is not playing games, but He cannot come. Literally, God cannot come till He has the evidence He needs to close the great controversy. Can you see why the devil is fighting so hard to keep us asleep? Sister White says, well, let me just, page 78, if I recall correctly. 79. No, 81. What shall I say to arouse the remnant of God? I was shown that dreadful scenes are before us, and yet Satan and his angels are bringing all their powers to bear upon God's people. He knows that if they sleep a little longer, He is sure of them, for their destruction is certain. Sleeping a little longer. Well, I guess the mic's here. Blowing nice, soft breezes. Sleep a little longer, my children. A little longer, a little longer. Why? Because He's closing a trap. The trap door is closing and closing and closing. But if at the last moment, just before it closes, what happens if the school of fish swim out through the hole, huh? Wouldn't this be terrible for Satan? What if God awakens His people in the last few months of Earth's history? Do you see what's happening? We've been sleeping too long. Right before our very eyes, possibly the final pope comes to America. Now, this is not any pope, you understand. His nickname was a Rottweiler of the Vatican, right? You knew that, right? Why was he called a Rottweiler? He was the attack dog. He was the head of the chief inquisitor. He was the one that threw theologians out if they didn't behave. He's the one that's willing to torture and kill people if they don't obey. The Newsweek interviewed him right after he got elected, and they said, they called him Your Holiness, but they said, you realize that your philosophy that you've been following these years is going to bring great suffering on the world. You know what his answer was? So be it. Suffering brings you closer to God. This guy has no problem executing anybody who's a dissident. No problem. And he comes to America, they've kind of redone his image. He was known as a Rottweiler, and they've been trying to pass off the image of God's love and peace and kindness, huh? They've done a good job remaking his image, haven't they? He says,
America has always been a nation of hope.
Well, we come in, he addresses the Americans, and we all receive him. At this very moment when prophecy is being fulfilled before our very eyes, and we all say, nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. Go back to sleep. Now, this is a great controversy, brothers and sisters. Either something is happening or it isn't happening. Would you like to wait for another 10 years and see what happens? Would you like to wait for 5 more years? Why don't you just wait for 2 more years, see what happens? Don't get busy. Don't get serious about religious things. Don't put your spiritual life number one. Just keep coming to church and pay your tithing and just keep coming to church every Sabbath and keep working and do overtime shifts at the hospital. Don't worry about it. We'll find out in a couple years. Is that what you want to hear? Can you understand the seriousness of the situation? The devil knows if we sleep a little longer, not a long time longer, a little longer. This is happening right before us. It's about done, and a sudden catastrophe will wake it up. Sister White says it will be a sudden catastrophe. I believe the National Sunday Law is about to happen sometime soon, and I believe it's going to happen unperceived, and I believe national ruin will rapidly follow after that, and God's judgment will follow even immediately after that. And by the time Adventists wake up, I'm sorry, the sealing process is finished. Adventists who knew the truth and did not live it will not have a chance. It will now go to those that are non-Adventists and didn't know any better. But God is now the door is open. And God is asking us, our institutions, educational, medical, administrative, whatever it is, should be leveraged. Number one, reach people, reach people, reach people. There should be a tone. Anybody who comes into our hospital here should immediately be in danger of getting to know Jesus Christ.